Morning, sir. How are you?
Yeah, fine. How are you? How you are doing?
I'm fine, sir. Good to see you. Long time.
Yeah, it's nice to see you. Yeah, good morning, Mr. Nilesh. Good morning. I think you are in mute. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good. I'm good.
Good. Thank you for joining, both of you. It is nice to see you, both of you, today morning. It's nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely.
you for joining. Maybe another 1 minute, our team may start, sir. Just another 1 minute.
Sir, I think this is the longest serving weekend webinar I've seen in my lifetime. And you, your team, haven't stopped through the whole COVID. Every Saturday, there is some of the other knowledge sharing sessions. But I think hats off to you guys. So you have really made some difference to the ecosystem.
Maybe like you have very good partners, no? That's because of that. A lot of resource persons and vendors, startups, they all are coming. They are joining with us, maybe because of people like you only.
No, no.
It's a good, yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah, thank you for your kind words. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, hello, who is starting today? People are there, yeah.
Yes, sir. So, very good morning to everyone. This is Alok Nath, Innovation Manager of Manage CA. We are going to commence our 172nd webinar in the Manage Saturday webinar series. From October 2020 onwards, continuously Manage CA is conducting webinar in all Saturday. The core objective of this webinar series is to impact knowledge, share fruitful information with agri stakeholders, which enable them to redefine and design a stable structure for their entrepreneurial journey. The webinar series is conducted under the National Institute of Agriculture Extension Management called MANAGE, an autonomous institute under the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare, apex body for agriculture extension located at Hyderabad. MANAGE Center for Innovation and Agripreneurship is an agribusiness incubation unit operating at MANAGE Hyderabad. It is one of the leading agribusiness incubator across the country. MANAGE CA is committed and dedicated for converting agribusiness ideas into reality, nurturing, supporting, and developing agribusiness ecosystem of the country. So far, MANAGE CA has mentored 503 startups, incubated 336 startups, and supported 106 startups with a grant in aid fund under the Archivare of the program. As you are aware, today the topic is food tech startup opportunities in food processing. The food technology startups are companies that use technology to innovate and improve the food industry. The food processing sector offers several opportunities for food tech startups, including automation and robotics, food safety and quality control, supply chain optimization, plant-based and alternative protein, personalized nutrition, food delivery and logistics, and much more. So in today's webinar, speaker will share their experience and elaborate about the scope and opportunity for the aspiring entrepreneurs and startup in the food tech sector. So we will commence our webinar. I welcome all the speakers to the Manage Saturday webinar series and also extend my welcome to my colleagues and the participants who inspired us to push the magnitude of our webinar in terms of topic diversification and geography. So we'll start our webinar by introducing the first speaker. So first speaker is Nilesh Lele, co-founder of Food Tech Pathshala, Mumbai. Nilesh is having over 17 plus years of experience in food tech and fintech industry. Prior to become an entrepreneur, he has worked with various MNC companies in India and USA, and also as a vice president to Barclay Capital. He is also associated as a mentor with Startup India and mentored 50 plus startups related to food tech industry. So with great pleasure, I welcome you to the webinar series, sir. The floor is all yours. You can now take up. Please, sir.
Welcome. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Thank you to the Manage team, the director, as well as the team. Also, welcome to Arnab Bua, a good friend, and all the attendees, I think 40 plus attendees who are here. So I take this opportunity to talk about the opportunities in food processing sector. We can go to the next slide. Before anybody enters into any startup for that matter, be it food sector or any startup, this is the most important slide and some of the key aspects that you should consider while entering into a business or a startup or setting up your venture, you should look at. So the first and foremost, when any startup starts its journey, there is typically a business idea or something new that they should consider. Sometimes it's also defined as what we call as problem statement definition. So any aspiring startups or even existing startups should definitely have a clear-cut problem statement defined, and the solution that they're providing should be good enough. Let's take a few examples, some food or some non-food examples also I would like to take at this point. One is the classic example of a taxi aggregator called Uber or Ola that I'm sure most of us have used or are using on a daily basis. It's not that taxi services did not exist before these guys came into picture. I stay in Mumbai, we call them Kali Pilis. They did exist, but there were certain challenges or problem statements or lacunas in the existing taxi service. A, you had to go find them. B, they may say yes, they may say no. C, they may overcharge you. D, you want to go to the airport tomorrow 4 a.m. You are nervous whether you'll find a taxi or not. So it's not that the service was not there, but there were certain small challenges which were clearly defined and were addressed by the likes of an Uber, where now you can sit at home and you can order them. You know exactly who your driver is, what his rating is, how much he's going to charge you. Nowadays, you can even pre-book it if you want to go to the airport the next day. So any of these successful startups that we keep hearing in the news or on other social media channels, you can clearly see that they have been able to define a problem statement. Similarly, the likes of a Swiggy or a Zomato or the likes of all these e-commerce portals like a Big Basket or an Amazon or a Flipkart, where they were able to identify a certain problem statement and come up with a good enough solution. Okay, so this is learning number one, that identification of a right problem statement. I interact with a lot of startups and they don't have a clear-cut problem statement that they have defined. They just think that, okay, I need to get into a spice industry, or I want to start building drones, or I want to get into like some of the industries that were mentioned, like a plant-based or ready-to-eat. But you really have to narrow down which is a problem statement you're trying to define. Let's say, for example, ready-to-eat. So where is the problem statement? Probably students or young professionals who are staying away from their families don't have access to easy food or ready-to-eat food. So that is a problem statement, which was very beautifully, again, addressed and captured by ID Fresh, where in the batter segment, which is highly unorganized, he was able to cater to the growing need and also create a brand out of it. So lesson number one, identification of a well-defined problem statement and coming up with a very good solution. Once you have that, next you should also assess whether there is a market, whether there is a need. And I always like to call whatever product you have, the service you have, is it a nice to have or is it a must have? Okay, and I'll give you a classic example of let's say cell phones. So cell phones, when they came up, when my parents bought the first cell phone back in 99, 2000, they were still nice to have because even incoming calls were charged at 16 rupees a minute, outgoing were charged at 16 rupees a minute. So they were still nice to have kind of a category back then. But now, today, they have become a must have. Not just cell phones, but smartphones, not just smartphones, but all these apps like right now we're using WebEx or the Zooms or your WhatsApp and so many other apps have also become a must have. So similarly, you need to introspect whether your business, whether your product, whether your service is a nice to have or a must have kind of a thing. Nothing wrong in being a nice to have product, but hopefully it becomes a must have in next 3 to 5 years. Another classic example is electric vehicles. As we speak, I would categorize them as nice to have at this point in time, especially the four-wheelers. Two-wheelers market has kind of become a must have and kind of become very popular. But the electric vehicle is still in its nascent stages. And currently, I would put it as nice to have. But in next 3 to 5 years, I think it may convert into a must have. Similarly, the likes of plant-based products which was referred to, where you have all these mock meat, egg substitutes, beef substitutes, and so many other products. I would put them as a nice to have category in India, and maybe in near future it will become a must have. But in the Western world, in the US, where they tend to eat a lot of red meat, and a lot of greenhouse gases are emitted because of the slaughtering of red meat, it is slowly and steadily become a must have in the Western world as far as meat substitutes are concerned, right? So, like I said, analyze whether it's nice to have, must have. Ideally, it should be nice to have, and that's why in our Hindi movies also they say roti, kapda, or makan. These are the three must-haves of life, and especially food is a must-have. And within food, if you can narrow down if your product is a must-have, it will be good. If even if it is a nice-to-have, then hopefully in your lifetime it becomes a must-have so that you can actually make money out of it. Next is your finance, and let me be honest, finance is difficult to get, but not necessarily very, very difficult. And I'm sure most of you are watching Shark Tank. And so broadly, there are two ways to raise money. One is through investors, like what we see on the Shark Tank and the other sharks, or angel investors, or HNIs, or the VCs of the world. And second is through borrowing, or through debt, or through loans, typically through banks. So these are the two broad ways of raising money. And again, I would like to say that there are a lot of investors, there are banks who are looking to give money or lend money or invest money in really good startups. Unfortunately, they are not finding startups which have some uniqueness involved, which is a nice to must-have kind of a product, which has a clear-cut problem statement defined and a good solution, right? So because these things are not happening, the money is not getting invested into some of these startups. But I can tell you from my own experience, because I do help a lot of startups raise funds, that there are funds available and debt and equity is available if the startup is what we call fundable. Next is technology, and I'm assuming most of you are from technology background. So trying to use technology, which typically is a tool which helps you to achieve more from less, it should be used, whether it is a technology as far as food processing is concerned. So for example, nowadays cold plasma is becoming very popular. So typically beverages, milk or fruit juice are heat treated, which does destroy a lot of nutritional value. And instead of that, you use non-heat or non-thermal technologies like high hydrostatic pressure processing, HPP, or pulse light, pulse electric. In fact, the other day I met someone who has designed, who has made an innovative machinery where he's using cavitation technology to extend the shelf life of milk as well as sugarcane juice. So since you all are from technical background, you should try to see how technology can incorporate it, be on the food processing side or be it on the IT side by having better supply chains or having using social media, using internet, using other IoT, AI, ML, all these to make your product more accessible, make your product more cheaper or better quality, all those things. So I do emphasize that technology is the way forward. Technology will help you achieve more from less. And so you should try to exploit it to build a great startup. Next is your human capital, and gone are the days where you look at your employees as someone who's going to be with you for the rest of your life, for their life, right? They join you and work for you for 30, 40 years. That doesn't happen anymore. And that's why you have to nurture your employees or your human capital or your human talent and make sure that they stay with you, they understand your vision and are aligned and work very hard and to help grow the business. Okay, so make sure you have aligned your people, your employees, and you'll see a lot of great people, including like one of my role model, Harsh Mariwala ji, who has built a great brand called under Marico with the likes of Saffola and Parachute. He always emphasizes on handling the employees and looking at their employees as a capital. Next, obviously, is your supply chain. And especially if you want to be in a food industry, if you want to be in a product industry, then supply chain becomes very important because if let's say you're a manufacturing setup, anything that is supplying to you is called the backward linkage. and anything from your factory to the end customer is called the forward linkage. So supply chain is very important, and that's why you see a lot of startups have come up in the supply chain space, be it the likes of the Swiggies or the Zomatos or the Dunzos or the Waycools, or even a Big Basket or a Ninja Cart. They're all somewhere or the other in the supply chain, either in the first mile delivery or the last mile delivery or aggregation or something or the other. Few reasons why supply chain is very important is lot of raw materials in India tends to be regional and seasonal. For example, mangoes, they are regional. They are typically grown in south of India or some parts of Maharashtra and available in few months prior to the rainy season. So regional, seasonal aspect of your raw material has to be studied very carefully if you want to get into a manufacturing setup. Similarly, demand tends to be seasonal, sometimes regional. So for example, summer season when the beverages pick up, in the winter season certain other products they pick up, in the rainy season certain other products or other demand picks up, right? So regional, seasonal aspect of the supply as well as the demand is something that is very important to study. Also, supply chain in India tends to be very inefficient compared to the Western world. So if you're buying something for 100 rupees, almost 23 rupees out of that is going for supply chain, backward linkage, forward linkage, storage, transportation, logistics costs, whatever different names you can give. So out of that 100, 23 is actually going towards the supply chain, whereas in the US, only 7% is going there. So there's a 16% inefficiency, but wherever there is an inefficiency, there is an opportunity. And that's precisely why a lot of startups have actually become an aggregator and have come in this supply chain model. Next, which is probably the most important aspects of all these departments of a startup, is just sales and marketing. I've seen many startups have great product, have funds, have a great team, but they're not being able to generate the success because they're not able to sell the product. They're not able to market the product. So please try to make sure that you can make the product, but at the same time have enough strength to be able to sell the product as well, right? So try to create a team where someone is good in sales marketing, someone is good at technical or technology, someone is good in finance. So try to build an all-round team. I also say, especially if you are in manufacturing, that manufacturing and marketing are like the two wings of any aeroplane. They both need to be synchronized, right? If one wing is better, the other is weaker, then the plane will not fly high. Same thing over here, where you can, you have to balance. You have to make sure that your manufacturing and marketing, they are both synchronized and they do well. And lastly, your regulatory compliances, where food is a regulated business, you should look at it very carefully. In fact, you can use regulatory compliances as a tool. For example, in 2016, a nutraceutical regulation has come out has been published by FSSAI, and more than 300 botanicals have been approved to be used in nutraceutical products. So you can use them to develop your recipes. You can use regulatory compliances as a tool, even as a barrier, because otherwise food industry typically has low barrier to enter. But you can use the regulatory framework as a barrier where if you, it's like nutraceutical I mentioned, or even Ayurvedic Ahar is another new regulation that came out last year, few months back. If you study that, use that for your benefit to actually help you to create a barrier where nobody else who does not understand these regulations will not necessarily be able to get in. So these are some of the departments that a startup will have and will have to focus and make sure they are all synchronized, all work fine, because it's like an orchestra. You're the maestro. If any of these are out of sync, then the success of the startup will not be as high compared to if all of them work in synchronization. Okay, so please make sure that you have understood this, built a strong team who can handle all of these various aspects of your startup. Next slide, please. Let me talk about certain, since we want to focus on what are some of the growth sectors. And if anybody has studied the PLI scheme, which is the Performance Linked Incentive Scheme, under the PLI and under the food sector, they have classified, they want to give these 4 areas, what they call the thrust areas, where the smart people in Niti Aayog and PMO think will have great growth in next 5 to 10 years. So under the PLI, if you want to take any benefit, these are the 4 subsectors, which is fruits and vegetable processing, ready to eat and ready to cook, marine products, seafood, as well as mozzarella cheese, which I like to expand it to dairy value-added products. So the likes of chas, lassi, butter, your yogurt, or dahi, all of these flavored milk. These are some of the dairy value-added products which are seeing exponential growth. Dairy industry stands at around 6 lakh crore. Amul grew almost double. Prior to COVID, it was at 36,000 crore. Last year, it closed at 61,000 crore. So dairy products are growing. Marine products, there's a lot of thrust on shrimp farming, tilapia, and so many other varieties of seafood products with a lot of export potential, you can see. Then we have seen huge exponential growth in ready-to-eat with the likes of MTR and your kits and the likes of ID Fresh coming in here. Again, double-digit growths in the ready-to-eat, ready-to-cook. Fruit vegetable obviously is a huge sector because we do have a lot of post-harvest losses to extend the shelf life, to do value addition. Fruits and vegetable processing is another growth sector that under the PLI scheme they want to promote. And some of this data, since the lack of time, I will not be able to cover going to the websites, but you can definitely visit the website of APEDA, which is Ministry of Agriculture entity, and there you can find what all products are being exported to various countries, as well as Ministry of Commerce can on their website, there's a link called for trade statistics. You can find out what India is importing from Afghanistan to Zambia, A to Z, every country, what we are importing and what we are exporting to these countries. So you can study that to figure out where I can capture the market. Next slide, please. And there are certain challenges, and I like to look at challenges because challenges means opportunities to me. And these are certain challenges which you can address as the next generation of entrepreneurs, where quality and quantity of fruit vegetable is a challenge. Many times there's no consistency. You don't get enough quality to set up a manufacturing unit. Our productivity per acre of this agriculture produce is lower. So whether we can actually make our farming systems more efficient. Land holdings of our farmers are very small, and that's why our Honorable Prime Minister is also trying to push for farmer producer organizations or farmer producer companies, so that many farmers can come together, set up their own manufacturing unit, so that you can extend the shelf life. You can do conversion, because right now the processing conversion is very low. They are not using enough technology. Automation is not there, which can actually happen where group of farmers can come together. And obviously in Maharashtra, there's a very, very successful case study of an FPO called Sahyadri Farms, who have brought together thousands of farmers and are doing fantastic job in the field of grapes as well as tomato and so many other produce that Maharashtra has. A lot of our actions tend to be labor intensive, and seasonality is becoming very difficult. Rainfall has been erratic, weather has been erratic, and MBA courses teach us that this concept of economies of scale, and because our scale tends to be smaller, the operational cost tends to be higher. So these are some of the challenges, but like I said, challenges means opportunities. So take this as an opportunity slide for you. Okay, next slide, and I think I'm done. So I'm done, and I'm open for any questions at the end of the session. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Nilesh ji, for this presentation. It was very insightful. Now I request Mr. Aloknath to introduce the second speaker of the day.
Yeah, thank you, Praveen. So our next speaker is Arnab Gupta. He is the founder, director, and CEO of Impeccable Innovation Private Limited, located at West Bengal. Mr. Arnab is having over 20 plus years of rich experience in food tech sector, worked in R&D innovations and manufacturing department in food tech industry, and hold 5 patents in his name. He assists in innovative techno-commercial startup, scientific research, providing consulting services to company related to food, aligned food, biotech, agriculture industry, and sustainability. So welcome, Arnab, sir. You can now take up, sir, please.
Yeah, thanks, Aloknath.
Yeah, welcome, sir.
I hope all of you are able to hear me.
Perfectly, sir.
Yeah. So, good morning, one and all. I'm Arnab Guha, from Impeccable Innovations Private Limited. This is a social agri-health food startup from Bangalore, Karnataka. And today's topic, what we are discussing is what it takes to succeed as a startup in Indian food processing sector. Next slide. Some disclosure, as we are a scientific company, just wanted to tell you that we are a bootstrap startup without any external funding. We strongly believe in the concept of food thy medicine, gluten-free lifestyle, and nutritious veganism. So those things will reflect in my subsequent slides. And we have won a small grant from central government of 1 million INR under the scheme of RKVY Raftar in 2021. And we are virtually incubated at NutriHub, IMR, Hyderabad. I'm the founder with 5 patents as an inventor in my whole career. I've done my MSc Food Science and Tech, and also I have been in the industry for last 17 years, having worked earlier in the biotech sector in Novozymes and in the food sector in Britannia and Heinz. And also I've done internship in Nestle, Coca-Cola, and Unilever. My co-founder, Mr. Gautam Guha, he is my father as well. He has done MBA and he has done MSc and BSc in agriculture from PAU Ludhiana. Overall, he has now around 45 years of work ex, and he retired as a senior manager from Bank of Baroda. Next slide. So the Indian food processing system, we are all gung-ho about what our Prime Minister is telling, that we need to reach GDP, and we will reach a GDP of 5 trillion USD by 2026, and maybe by 2030 we will reach the 7 trillion USD, as we are growing at a CAGR of around 6.5 to 7%. However, a very important fact that we need to understand is the food processing companies in India is around 75,000, and globally it is 2 million food processing companies. So what's the total addressable market in India in food processing? It's around 400 billion USD, which includes around 50 billion USD from agriculture and food exports. Hopefully, our food sector will grow to 535 USD by 25-26. The best part of our sector, the food sector, is this is recession proof, and this year 2023 we are getting a lot of impetus from the central government of India as well as all the state governments in promoting millet, and that we are terming it as International Year of Millet 2023 hashtag IYM 2023. The flip side of our sector is there is an extremely low entry barrier, and our consumers are not nutrition driven, unlike the mature markets of Europe and America. So just keep these things in mind as we are building in this presentation. Next slide. So when I started as an entrepreneur in 2016, overall across all the sector there were only 450 startups. But with the startup initiative by the central government, as on date 2022, we have 84,000 startups in India. Maybe some are already close, some are still alive, but this is a huge jump of the number of startup and number of entrepreneurs who have taken the plunge. They have learned, and some of them have continued, or some of them have gone back to their corporate life. But the thing which is very important for the budding entrepreneurs is 10% of the startup fails within the first year, and the rest of the 90% also fails by the 5th year. Hardly less than 1% startup succeed over a period of 10 to 20 years. So this is a fact that you have to keep in mind before entering into the startup, that the failure is guaranteed. But what is important for you is what is important for you is, can you do the unthinkable? Can you succeed as a startup entrepreneur? Next slide. So the key element to startup success, be it food processing or in any other thing, is idea, team, business model, funding, and timing. But you know what is the ranking? Like, which one will be the highest factor to your startup success out of all these 5 important key elements? Yeah, we will tell in the next slide, please. So the most important part of your startup when you're starting up is the timing, which will contribute to 42%. Like, there was a survey of over 200 startups, and out of that 42% of the startup who succeeded, they had the timing right. The next part is the team, which will contribute to 32% of the probability. The third part, which will contribute to your success, is your idea and execution of your idea. The fourth factor in the ranking is the business model, and the least and the last factor is the funding. So if you are a budding entrepreneur or already you have started, don't think funding is something which will be a guarantee for your startup success. How you start, how you build the startup will matter the most. And don't always keep your idea close to your chest. You have to share and get validated about your idea and what you're trying to do. Next slide. And this is the most important part of this slide or this webinar from my side, is this slide. Please take a screenshot, or the main part of this are the 16 mantra of how to succeed. And these are in the random order. It came just when we were looking and collating this presentation, that treat your startup as your own baby, believe it in your idea, raise it healthily like a baby, have fun, make mistake, learn from your mistake, and don't give up. Be passionate about the problem that you're solving, and always think that you're solving the problem for you first. Don't chase the hot trend. Enrich your storytelling capacity and build up stories about your work, and always think that money is just a byproduct. It's not the only thing for you. Surround yourself with high enthused folks. Follow the rule, which is I call as no rule. Entrepreneurs should not be bound to any rule. You have to think yourself as a limitless. Identify your SWOT area, life priority, align them to your business vision. Understand whether you want to work in a B2B or a B2C. You cannot work in both the sectors. Always try to see whether you want to go in a Me Too type of category or you want to differentiate. My personal thing is you have to differentiate, because otherwise you will be only chasing the game of the pricing. Conscious about the gut moment. When you once you start your startup, you will feel a gut moment maybe after 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. And the gut moment is why you want to do a startup in a certain area. So the why is very important, followed by the how and what. Anyways, all the entrepreneurs know what they are trying to do. Walk with lesser liabilities, chase value. Your role is not just to do a job creation. Your role is to do value creation first as let's say, a first generation entrepreneur. Competitive advantage around your idea, build it. As I told you, don't keep it to your chest. First, win the small markets, seek criticism and dissect it impartially. Build communities and not just Excel sheets. And you need to be pragmatically pessimistic. about how your startup is progressing. Otherwise, if there is, let's say, a jhatka in your balance sheet someday, you will be so heartbroken that you will close your startup. So inherently, you be pragmatically pessimistic. Okay. What is the best way of building something? Very important is not to be the quickest, but build what is the best way of building a startup. I hope all these 16 gyans we can elaborate, but due to lack of time, I'm just giving you the bullet points. Next slide. So this has been the journey of IIPL. IIPL stands for my company, Impeccable Innovations Private Limited. It was founded in 2016 Feb, and it is a self-funded till date. We started with a techno-commercial consultancy services to food and agri-input industries. We have given consultancy to big companies like Badrinath, Unilever, and even to a small companies of a husband and wife team from Whitefield, Bangalore. So at that time, we were helping this ecosystem of food processing industry to grow. But then we pivoted our business model from a service to a product company through our food manufacturing from Jan to 2019. Today, we have two brands. One is Sportify. Under that, we have different types of product. As you can see, the boxes at the background of our product, yellow, red, and blue. These are the multigrain flours, gluten-free multigrain flours, which I'll come. Then we are also launching another sub-brand called Plaposh, which is based on plant-based portion. That is plant-based portion. That is the we are starting with dairy alternatives, but in a very nutritious angle. We also have a separate vertical of e-marketplace. Our website, as you go to our website, impeccableinnovations.com, you will see it's a e-marketplace where we are not only promoting our Spotify type of product, but also other entrepreneurs' product who have the similar vision like us. And this year, we are also starting our exports. As a startup, our main focus is disease and disorder segment. As I told you, the differentiation factor, and this is how we think that our startup is differentiated against thousands of startups in the food processing area, because we are working on core science, core human biology, and we are working on making food thy medicine. And our future dream is to do agri backward integration for our raw material sourcing in the future, not now. Yeah, next slide. So as you know that our startup, we are advocating gluten-free lifestyle. And why? Because our grandfathers were eating a diploid wheat. It had 2 chromosomes wheat, let's say 100 years ago. Today's modern wheat is a hexaploid wheat, which is the protein in it has 6 sets of chromosomes. And we don't have, as a human, we don't have enough tools in our body to digest it to the amino acid level. People with celiac disease, next slide. People with celiac disease are anyways vulnerable to gluten, but a normal person who is not celiac, who does not have gluten allergy and all, but still he is not able to digest the wheat gluten protein to its each amino acid. And that is the thing that we are saying, that what happens is when those peptides corrodes the inner lining of the cell wall of your small intestine, it creates holes, it creates gaps, and through which the zonulins get parted away, and then your gut becomes even more leaky. Actually, what is gut? Gut is the lining from your mouth to anus, basically the digestive system. And the main part of the gut is obviously the small intestine, where maximum amount of microbes reside. So if there is imbalance in the microbial population in your gut, then your overall health will get degraded. And that's why we say every disease starts from gut and every death starts from colon. So if you are able to keep your gut healthy and if you are able to keep your colon healthy, your overall aging will not be as fast and you will be in a much better state. So here, as a food startup, we are trying to integrate the medical side of it, the food side of it, and the agriculture side of it. And as we are building communities, we are also being socially aware of the facts and contributing also. Next slide. So the major focus disease for our startup is celiac disease, iron deficiency anemia, type 2 diabetes, constipation, asthma, psoriasis, and GERD. In the intolerances, we are working on gluten intolerance and lactose intolerance. And in the disorder, we are working on autism and cerebral palsy. Just to tell you, my own brother, he is currently 35-year-old. He is working in Union Bank in Delhi. And he is spastic quadriplegic with cerebral palsy from birth. So we have seen the journey, how a person who was not able to walk at the age of 5 is now the manager in Union Bank. So that's why the empathy is very much built in our family, in me. And that's why we are able to not only work, understand the differently able or the neurodiverse children, but also we are able to impact them. So that's why autism is very important for us, because in autism, what happens is the GFCF SF diet is really helping. Gluten-free, casein-free, soya-free diet is really helping the autistic kids. And even though there are not many literature which can tell you that it is statistically improving the condition of autistic kids, but as a startup, we have seen enough in the last 4 years to say that it is really working, especially our product is really working. In future, we will also go for various types of feeding trials and other, but those are very costly. It will cost us more than 4 crores, 3 crores or something, but we will get there. We have seen the spark in our product and we will impact the community. Next slide.
Yeah, Arnab sir, one small request. Due to shortage of time, I request you to complete the session in next 2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes. I'll just complete. So these are our products. We believe in zero gluten, zero compromise. These are the 3 Spotify Begins, Spotify High Protein, and Spotify Selkie. Spotify Selkie is a diabetic friendly flour. You can order it from our website. It is also available in Flipkart. Next slide. This is a new launch that we are doing. It is Spotify Palmyra sugar. It is a low glycemic index sugar. It's good for diabetes. You can scan this code and you will go directly into the website. Next. This is about to be launched. We are in the test marketing zone. This is a millet-based masala upma mix. And as our startup is millet focused, that's why we are working on different value-added, nutritious, gluten-free millet products. Next slide. As we are building communities in our YouTube channel, there are more than 150 or 160 videos, and here we are trying to educate the consumer. In autism, we have already given 17 educational videos. You can go to your YouTube channel and see those. And in the social media overall, we have access to around 25,000 across different social media platforms. Next slide. We are attached with the NutriHub and IIMR. Dayakar sir is helping us a lot over a period of 2-3 years. And millet is something which we really advocate. So please eat millets. And we are present. We have taken part in various expos over the past 7 years. And this is something that we are trying to work with the farmers, with the FPOs, with the consumers. Next slide. And please rate us in our in this Google. How you liked our presentation, how you liked our work. those things will really help us as we go forward. Thank you. And last slide, yeah, that's the thanks slide. Thanks for listening to us. We are a slightly different type of startup, and we are trying to challenge the status quo, but in a positive way. We are looking to collaborate with various doctors, various consultants, various government officials, so that we can impact the health of the people with foods and with nutritious gluten-free foods. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Arnav sir. Thanks for the detailed presentation. So now we will move to the next section of today's webinar. So we will take up questions from the participants. Even I have few questions for both the speakers. So I request all the participants to use the chat box to post your questions, and you can also click on raise hand icon where you'll get an opportunity to ask questions directly to the speakers. So now I have one question for the speakers. Sir, can you please mention if there are any decentralized food processing organizations or any startups who have taken the food processing technologies to rural areas and have seen some success in that?
I think Go Desi is there. They are doing really good in the Imli Pop products, where they are using, they started with the Imli making with the self-help group of women self-help group. And now they are, I think they're doing very well in terms of the revenue generation. And so this is one of the where I think they develop their own technology and then using the rural side of it, catering to the masses actually.
Okay. Nilesh sir, if you want to add anything for this question.
Yeah, so there is one startup, and I don't recall the name. Maybe I'll share it later on. So they have developed like a dehydration unit on a truck kind of a thing, and they go to the farm level, pick up the stuff, and dehydrate. And I think last year they have clocked more than 35 crore of turnover. And the dehydration technology is also patented and developed and acquired from a Canadian company. So typically we are familiar with dehydration, but their technique is slightly different. Secondly, I know a company based out of Germany who have also made these truck-mounted fruit processing units, so they can be utilized and go to the site, or go to the farm level and just process it, because many fruits, like I work in the cashew apple space, so cashew apple tends to have very low shelf life, maybe in few hours. So something like that can be used where the processing reaches the farmer rather than the farm produce reaches the factory.
Okay. Sir, one of our participant, Joydeep Sharma, is asking question related to PLI scheme, that is production linked incentive scheme. So can you please elaborate in that for some more?
Yeah. So during the Atmanirbhar Bharat movement during COVID that our Honorable Prime Minister launched, the idea is to create import substitutes or to create large Indian conglomerates. So as we all know, Nestle is a European country which is big in dairy in India. But its counterpart, and Amul, which is the very big in dairy in India as far as Indian company is concerned, has no presence outside India. Why is Amul not found in the Tesco in UK or a Walmart in US? So the thrust is where Indian giants can become global players as well. So this is a thought process behind PLI scheme, and it's valid not just for food industry but for a lot of pharma, specialty chemicals, textiles, and every subsector. So there is certain criteria, and typically a company who's already clocking more than 200 crore is eligible to take incentives under the PLI scheme. So it's not really for a startup, but the reason I highlighted it is because they want to create large global conglomerates in these four subsectors of fruit, vegetable processing, ready to eat, ready to cook, marine, as well as dairy products. So if smart people at PMO and Niti Aayog think that these are the four areas where we need to promote our large industry, even small industry can piggyback off it and create solutions which can be provided to the larger companies.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So I request participants to check the details also available in the official websites. And since we have already shared the email IDs of both the speakers in the chat box, and also we'll be sharing that in email as well. Contact them once you go through the website. If you have any specific queries, please write to them. Definitely, they'll be answer your questions. Yes. Yeah. So my next question is, sir. So most of the startups, they have this problem. Like when we go through the training session, mentoring session with our startups, the biggest challenge they face is about the pricing. So how to fix pricing for their products. So in this regard, there are a lot of food technology based startups who are incubated at Manage and also our partner incubation centers also. So they come across this challenge. So I request the speakers to share how they fix prices for their products and what strategy suits best for the early stage startups.
Sure. So if it is a B2C product, right, where end of the day it becomes a consumer product. So let's say a ready to eat or a ID fresh kind of a batter, we can say, or a bread or anything, which is more of a B2C is how the format is. So typically the distribution network where you have a stockist or followed by a distributor, followed by a retailer, takes up almost 50% of your MRP. So if I flip it, basically what I'm saying is that if your product, including your raw material, packaging material, processing cost, and your profit at your doorstep, which is called X factory, is 50 rupees, then your MRP needs to be double of that or more. So straight away, the MRP should be 100 or more to accommodate these guys, which is a stockist, which typically works in a margin of between 4 to 8%, a distributor between 15 to 20%, and retailer between 20 to 30%. Because these three guys typically play their expectation is a percentage of MRP. And so these three, or whatever your distribution network is, takes up your almost 50% of your MRP. Or in other words, your X factory price, your price including raw material, packaging material, processing, and profit, whatever that number comes out to be, the MRP should be minimum double or even more. If it is higher than that, then obviously you'll be able to give larger margins to your network. That's one way. The second way is typically what happens is there are similar or substitute products in the market. For example, you're making, I think someone mentioned about, let's say, vegan or a soya milk. So typically soya milk, already in the market, you have the likes of Sofit, or there are a few other brands who are already in the market. So whether it's a glass bottle, PET bottle, Tetra Pak, whatever, the market will always have some or the other products. So that kind of becomes your benchmark for what the MRP can be. The other thing is markets are very sensitive to price points, especially if it is a low price point kind of item. Typically 10 rupee, 20 rupees the price point in a beverage section, or 5 rupee, 10 rupee or 20 rupee in a snacks section. Once you start going up, then you have the 49, 99, that kind of a thing. So understanding how the market dynamics work. So even though my product can go for 12 rupees, market doesn't want 12 rupees because then chutta ka problem hota hai. And that's why you may have observed that Fruity, when in my childhood we used to get 250 ml for 10 rupees, is now down to 160 ml for 10 rupees because they're trying to stick to the MRP and adjusting the quantity of the product that you are getting for 10 rupees. So a lot of these things have to be studied, but typically these are the broad two ways or broad 2-3 things that you have to consider while figuring out what your MRP should be.
And from my side, yeah, and from my side, I can say that all the pearls of wisdom what Nilesh sir told is really the exact thing what is happening in this industry. Just to add to his points, you have to also understand as an entrepreneur, do you want to play in the red ocean or in the blue ocean? So when you play in the red ocean, there will be a lot of bloodbath. That if your product is also 10 rupees, your next nearest 20 competitor product is also rupees 10. So unless you are able to differentiate your product offering either in terms of the convenience or in terms of nutrition or its efficacy, you cannot charge more than the market price. So in our case, our product are almost 2x to our competitors. And why? because our product has a different sort of efficacy. Once you eat it, you will understand that why it is working like that. And it's not that we are charging the value of the excess thing like people do in pharma. But in case of our, as we have to work on the quality aspect in such a way that we cannot use any particular ingredient which is cheap, but it may not be impacting the formulation. So that's why I'm saying that pricing is very important where you want to play. Let's say your price is slightly 20% or 50% higher than the market price, then your volume will go down. But in order to make the consumer aware that you're charging a higher price, are you giving even a 2x time of value or not? So, but if you're not giving value, but you're charging higher than the market price, then you will not be able to survive. So pricing is what you want to play, basically.
So I would like to add here and agree completely with Arnab sir, where what I like to say is, if the perceived value, okay, the word perceived, okay, if the perceived value is greater than the cost, then the consumer will pay it and he'll become a repeat customer. Like I always like to give an example of a tea vendor. So we know we get tea for 10 rupees, we get for 50 rupees, or you go to a 5-star hotel and you pay 500 or 1000 rupees. Then why is someone ready to pay 500 rupees, even though he knows that the tea is not worth more than 50 rupees? It's because the perceived value that he's getting. He feels great. He feels like, treated like a guest or a VIP. Maybe he sees some film stars or some over there. So always any startup or any product for that matter should think that what is the perceived value that my product is giving. And if it is greater than the cost, automatically my consumer will become a repeat customer, because especially if you're in a product or even in service for that matter, unless you have 80% repeat customers, you will not be successful. So you can fool a person only once, right? So, but you to make him a repeat customer, he needs to feel that way. Like another example, favorite example of mine is Parle G, where you get Parle G for 2 rupees. I mean, today you don't get anything for 2 rupees, but you are still getting 3-4 biscuits for 2 rupees, where person is thinking, "Arey yaar, 2 rupees mein it's worth it." So the perceived value, if it is greater than cost, then you'll have a repeat customer, and that's how you can also benchmark what your MRP can be.
Okay, thank you, sir. So we have two participants who have raised their hands. We will take direct questions from them. So we have Mr. Sharad Pant. I will unmute him. Yeah, Mr. Sharad, you can ask question directly to the speakers.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are perfectly audible. You can ask the question.
Arnab sir, as you mentioned your 16 point suggestions, that we have to decide on which domain we have to work, B2B or B2C. So
Yeah.
how much it is important means what it reflect in our business. So that's my
basically,
question.
Yeah, Sharad, what you have to understand is what is your grooming till date in the industry it has been. Let's say if you are a student, not yet entered into the industry, then you are a open slate. So you can either go in B2B or B2C. But if you are, let's say, worked in the industry for a few years and you have understood your personality, basically, then you have to understand that will I be passionate about sending one lorry of rice or a millet, or will I be passionate about selling 10 kgs of a millet upma? So it's all about what you want. Okay, it's not what the market needs or what is the gap in the market. It's what you are really have the skill set and the passion. Like in my case, I don't have a iota of understanding of a B2B game, because my whole career in the corporate, let's say in Britannia or in the R&D, in the Novozymes, in the Heinz, it's all about manufacturing and R&D. So I'm not exposed to the B2B concepts that much. But it does not say that in future I'll not do a B2B. But in my opinion, a B2B person will find it very hard to do a B2C, but a B2C person over a period of time, they can go towards B2C as well as B2B. So what I want to say is, try to understand you as an entrepreneur first, you will get the answer.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can I also add?
Yes, sir, please.
Yeah. So see, B2B and B2C are two different models or two different ball games, and both have their own pros and cons. You will see a lot of startups going into a B2C because B2C gives you the brand, it will give you the glamour, you will be known to the market, right? So that's why you'll see a lot of people who want to go into a B2C product and see their products get onto the shelf. Investors also like B2C kind of things, but B2C at the same time needs a lot of patience, needs a lot of deep pockets. You need to have a lot of brand building activities that come with it, right? So you're also dealing with many people because you're dealing with hundreds of distributors or hundreds of stockists or hundreds of stores and hundreds of thousands or lakhs of retail customers. So it's a totally different ball game. Whereas B2B is more where you can build on volume. Like even in Arnab sir's example, if you heard, he spoke about a lorry full of rice versus 100 kg worth of khichdi or something like that. So the quantum is different. So B2B is more where brand is not so important. So if I'm purchasing ketchup for my internal use as a restaurant, I don't really care whether it's a Kisan or a XYZ or whatever. All I care about is price and the quality and all that. So B2B is where your brand necessarily may or may not get built, but you may get huge quantities. Secondly, you may have to deal with only one or two of your customers, and because one thing which is very rarely spoken about is how to recover your money in the market. And I have been my entrepreneur. I did not talk about my journey, but I have 2 manufacturing units myself. And one of the hardest part is trying to recover the money from the market, be it the distributor, be it the retailer. When you're doing B2B, you're dealing with only 2 or 3 customers or 5 customers. When you're in a B2C product, you're dealing with probably, like at one point in time, I was in all 36 districts of Maharashtra, had almost 50 plus distributors. So dealing with them, getting the money recovered and all that starts becoming a challenge. Last line, you can also have a B2B and B2C together, where B2B can help you reach your break-even point, where your operational costs are taken care of, and simultaneously B2C you can also build your brand slowly, steadily, so that you don't necessarily have to burn money and you're not stressed where okay, I have certain fixed costs or certain other costs which interest costs which I have to bear, and I'm not able to reach my break-even point, and then you start making or taking wrong decisions. So you can have both B2B, B2C combination also, but these are technically different business models because and third point I'd like to say that your product might be a B2C product, but you're catering to B2B. For example, a lot of people need large chunks of mayonnaise or green chutneys or the ketchups in the HORECA space, which is the hotels, restaurants and caterers. So it is really a B2B market, but it is still a B2C kind of a product, right? And so it goes in what is called institutional packs, 1 kg, 2 kg, 5 kg of a thing. And the distributors who are catering to HORECA are different from the distributors who are catering to what we call general trade or general retail, who are different from what a modern trade or the malls or the likes of DMart and what distribution channels they use. So I always give advice that unless you do a business for 365 days, you will not understand these nitty-gritties, the seasonalities, the regional, seasonal, the recovery, the mindset of the overall distribution channel. Unless you do it for 365 days, you're not going to understand these nitty-gritties of how the markets actually work.
And here, one more point,
Thank you, sir.
experience, what I feel that, Nilechi, it's a question to you too. What I feel that, unlike other sectors, the non-food sectors, in food sector, you will succeed more if you have an experience of a food company. So it's not that a person coming from IIT IIM, just starting a food product will be successful. So if you have worked in a MNC, if you have worked in a established startup, then you understand the overall picture and then you can take things forward. But if you just start without a knowledge, then you are grappling for consultants only. Your basic understanding of the business is like a borrowed understanding, which I feel that maybe though the startup may not go to the distance, but I feel that for a food processing entrepreneur, an experience of at least 2 to 3 years in your particular domain is very important in the food industry before jumping into the startup. Because as I told you in the first slide, 90% of the startup fails within 4 or 5 years or so. So the success is not at all guaranteed. Failure is 100% guaranteed. Only people who are high risk taking can be an entrepreneur. Otherwise, they should not be an entrepreneur, because it will create a lot of tensions at home. It will create a lot of burning of your funds, of your parents' funds. So it is very important. So do you, Nilesh, experience matters in the food industry before being an entrepreneur?
Yes, definitely. And that's why I also said that 365 days experience as an entrepreneur will also matter to understand a lot of things. The other aspect, which is not many times discussed, is creating a distribution channel. Also, there is a human touch to it. So my relation with my distributor, distributor's relationship with the retailer, and the retailer's relation with the end consumer is very important. Like wherever we live, there might be 5, 6 different Kirana stores, but we always go to the same guy. Why? There's some personal touch, and this is how the personal touch is how this typical distribution channel it works. And that's why I have all my distributors I have personally appointed. Each of them have gone to their house, have been part of their ups and downs or family events and stuff like that. Because in India, especially in tier 2, tier 3 kind of a setup, a lot of these personal things are what matter. I'll take one last line and tell you that I need industrial cylinders to make my sugar syrup. And I was when I was moving my factory from location A to B, one of my distributor from his house, he brought the industrial cylinder to me, right? And that's why I have that personal connection, that even if he does not give me the sales that I expect from him, I cannot overnight terminate him, because he has helped me when I was in need of the help. So a lot of these personal things are what matters on the ground to actually push your product from your factory to the stockist, to the distributor, to the retailer, to the end consumer. He comes back and keeps buying again and again and again. So these are some of the key aspects which are underplayed. And unless you do a business for 365 days, you'll not understand the nitty-gritties of how the product actually goes and moves in the market.
Yes, yes. Thank you, sir. I thank both the speakers for the detailed explanation about the strategies that they are using in the businesses, and also answering the questions from the participants also. So now we have arrived at the end of today's webinar. I thank speakers and today's participants, and also the coordinators of this webinar for helping us to host it successfully. I thank on behalf of MANACA, requesting participants to check the official website of Manage CAA, where you can get the details of all our upcoming programs. You can visit the recent updates section in the website. We have invited applications for Agri-Eureka, a national level agri-business and innovation challenge. And also we have invited applications for cohort 9, any innovative agribusiness ideas who are seeking for the financial assistance, so they can apply. Up to 25 lakhs of grant in aid support will be provided through MANACA. And we have also shared the link to submit feedback for today's webinar. And also there is a link to participate in a short survey related to Saturday webinar series. So I request participants to go through that. And also Manage is organizing side events related to G20 this year. So already we have completed 2 webinars of this series, and another 2 webinars are on pipeline. So kindly check the details shared in our social media handles and also in the chat box, requesting everyone to participate in that. Once again, I thank everyone on behalf of Manage AA.
Thank you. Really like to thank Manage team. And as I've told to sir that you guys have done a tremendous job in this COVID time. There were certain months in the COVID where we were not going out. Our production was totally down, but we were waiting for the Saturday to see your presentations, see your webinars. That kept us going. And I visited Manage in 2019, just before the COVID. And I know that you guys, what you have done. And Saravanan sir, I really hats off to you and your association with NutriHub. I've seen it personally. I've seen it firsthand. तो मतलब कोई बोलने का ही नहीं है, बहुत बढ़िया है. And the students of yours should take the advantage. And we were not that lucky in my 2006 time when I was in the Haryana Agriculture University and Bhaskaracharya. The ecosystem was not developed that time. But you guys have really worked a lot, and I think your students should take the advantage. It's a thanks to all of you from our startup.
Thank you, Nilesh, for all kind words. But because some startups, others are doing good. That's why it is our duty we are trying to do. And also we are a small team, they all are working. Thank you for Arnab and also Nilesh for today joining with us. It is so nice to see you, both of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.